Welcome back, everyone, to the Nimber Tribe podcast. Today we have Grace Lancer on the pod. She is a personal branding and business strategist. She really likes to disrupt the norms and create her own path. And today we're going to talk a lot about developing fierce confidence, how to scale your business by developing a clear message and using personal branding. Hello, Grace. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you. Would you mind starting us off with a little bit of an origin story? Each superhero has one, and I bet there are things that happened to you in the past that got you where you are today. Can you just walk us through a few cornerstones that we might need to understand what you're doing today and who you are today?
For sure, of course. So, how far do I go back? I'd go back to my childhood and say I was born a middle child, So I was, until my brother came along 6 years after me. But I really I've always been this person that disrupts the norms. Like when people tell me to do something, I do the opposite. At school, I just didn't want to sit down and work and all of this, and I went traveling after university, which was always my plan, for 9 months, and it was the best 9 months of my life. And it was then I really realized how much I value my freedom and going on adventures. And I was like, I really want to have a job where I can travel the world whenever I want. But when I came back from traveling at the end of 2014, I didn't really know what that looked like. I'd never been self-employed. I never even had any post-university work experience. So I came back and I thought, actually, for a bit, I'm happy to just get a job and, start in the corporate world to get some money and some experience on my CV. And so I was hired by a HR tech company in London, and I was hired because I was a great culture fit of my personality. They were only 8 years old, the company, so very much startup focused. And the first 2 years was amazing. I loved it. I was celebrated. They loved me. And then after 2 years, we moved offices, and with that came this new corporate feel. And the company was private equity backed, so it was okay, we need to knuckle down. It's about doing this and protocols and rules. And of course, that just totally didn't fit who I was. And it was really difficult to 2 years prior, have been hired for my personality, to now be told okay, that's not important anymore. And you have to sit down, shut up and do the work. And it's not that I didn't do the work. I was the only thing that happened, in my favor was that I was really good at what I did. All my clients loved me. And in a way, they left me to my own devices, even though I really, really hated it, because I felt like they were trying to put me into a box and suppress my personality and mute myself, mute me down. And I put up with it for 2 years. And then I just decided I didn't want to do this anymore. So 2019, I enrolled into a life coaching certification diploma. And I was like, I want to be self-employed. I want to do something where I can have more impact on people, where I'm not in this rigid 9-to-5 structure with really bad managers. And yeah, so I did that and launched my coaching business in 2020. And that is really related to what I also do today, because the whole purpose of my work is helping those fellow disruptive, bold, ballsy, outspoken type people to, in a nutshell, build a wildly successful and profitable business and sign high ticket clients without ever having to be professional and corporate, which is a big misconception. A lot of people think that in order to make money, you have to be this corporate professional and serious person that fits the corporate mold. So I'm smashing through that and helping the people that don't fit that mold to make a load of money in their business.
I love that so much. I bet this experience that you just described is something that many of us experience. Maybe we have this kind of outgoing personality or whatever kind of quirks we have. Maybe it's not even bold and shiny as yours, but I think I'm a little bit more on the shy end, but definitely a little bit quirky as well. But then we have an experience either in our families or then when we go into the corporate world where that is not appreciated, we are told to kind of tone it down. And in my personal experience, I lost that spark for quite a while, where I was like, okay, I'm just going to fit into this mold and that's how it needs to be. Can you talk a little bit about how we can bring back that confidence, or how we can kind of rebuild that, and how you work with your clients on that kind of part?
It's a really great question, because to follow on from the story that I just mentioned, I was so excited to launch my business and was like, I can be whoever I want and I don't have people telling me I need to be a certain way. But the reality was very different, and I overthought everything. I was like, if I share this, will it put people off? If I write, this thing, will people not want to work with me? If I show off my personality, will it turn away people who don't take me seriously in business? And I really felt like this for the first kind of 6 months of business. I overthought a lot and I was scared to really put myself out there. And then what actually happened that made me start showing up more authentically was I realized that I had to be the voice for my community. If I wanted to have a community, like, I had to be the leader of that tribe that was leading people similar to me that didn't yet feel confident and comfortable enough to actually speak up about the things or show themselves off in the way that I wanted to do it. And so that was the thing that really helped me to start showing up authentically and showing off like absolutely who I am, is saying, I need to be the leader for the tribe that I'm growing here, and reminding myself of why I was doing this. Why did I leave corporate in the end? Because, I don't want to be put in a box where my personality is suppressed and people are telling me you'll only get a promotion and a pay rise if you fit this corporate mold. So it's really connecting. It's the cheesy thing, but it's really connecting to your why. Like, why are you doing this and who are you doing this for? And getting clear on what's important to you about making this a success. And then taking the action that aligns with getting you there.
100%. And I love that notion of kind of shining your flag, or like showing your real colors so your tribe can kind of find you, because how would we otherwise know like where you are if you're not like being that light that kind of shows the way? Is there any like practices or like mindsets or kind of a frame that you use when you maybe stir off a little bit, or when you see that your clients are still not really confident to like own that? Is there any like kind of steps that can help them with that?
So it's always about looking at where they feel the resistance, what they feel the resistance is, and where they feel the resistance is coming from. So it doesn't necessarily have to be about personality and showing up authentically, but with all my clients every week, they're taking action, and I ask them, what, if anything, like, what resistance are you coming up against? And usually there's always something why they're saying, oh, I have been procrastinating on this because I worry about this. So it's always about being able to identify it, because you can't just say to someone, get over it. If people have things that are actually holding them back, that they feel are legitimate reasons why they're not doing something, even if they're not legitimate reasons, it's about really identifying what it is, and then being able to overcome that. Where is it coming from? Do you still believe that? What do you want to believe instead? And what happens if you actually remove that fear, that belief? A question that I like is, if you could remove that fear and lock it away in a box for the next 24 hours, what would that really allow you to do? And this helps them to step away, almost be able to detach themselves from this fear that they might have, and be able to view it more objectively, and then see the logic and the reason behind how the current thoughts are not serving them, and how they want to believe this new thing instead.
I love that question. Yes, that's super powerful to just think about it. And that also is kind of a motivation of like stepping into that then, because you understand what's on the other side of that fear. So yeah, I really, really enjoy that. When you work with your different clients, they probably all have, I think you work a lot with like coaches, freelancers, consultants, these types of people. So similar with like showing their identity and their personality, they also want to show what they offer. And I feel like there's a lot of like wishy-washy, I'm going to help you to like achieve your potential, and these kind of messages out there. How do you help your clients to kind of package also that into a message that then resonates with their tribe and makes it really clear what they're actually selling?
So exactly as you say, one of the biggest issues I see is people using language that is too wishy-washy and broad and is not specific enough. And it can be difficult for people to identify that when they don't necessarily know how to do it, or what to look out for, or just the whole, you can't see the wood for the trees when you're too much inside your own business. So the lack of specificity is the biggest issue that I see with people selling their offers. They're selling something that's too vague, it's too broad, it's too fluffy. And vagueness is what stops people from buying, because people want to know with certainty, what am I getting? What is this helping me with? So then that leads us on nicely to, how do I help clients do this? I always say in business, guesswork fails and facts win. So no matter if clients come to me where they're really at the beginning of they've done, nothing, or they come to me more advanced and they're like, but I'm really struggling to move to that next level, I don't know what to do next. Everything usually always comes back to, we need to get back out there, do market research, and speak to your ideal clients, because you can have this most amazing idea that you want to create, but if you don't validate it with ideal clients to know that it's going to sell, then it's not going to sell. So you have to always create for the buyer. And how you do that is by speaking to the buyer and finding out, what are they struggling with? What do they need help with? What do they feel their biggest challenges are? Why do they need to overcome this? As in, like, what are their goals? What are they working towards? And why do they want to achieve those goals? What's important to them? And these are those with a few others are like the basic questions that when we kick off with all of my one-to-one clients, that's what we look at. And then that's what we go out and do market research on, so they can come back and very clearly answer these 5 questions that we look at. And then we use that to build out the basis of the offer, to make sure you're solving one problem for one person, that you're clear on what the transformation is, what the goal is, the one tangible goal that you're helping people achieve, and how is achieving that goal going to benefit them in whatever it would be, their relationship, their health, their life. And that's it.
Love it. So we are talking to the client, we get really specific on like what is the biggest problem that they want to solve right now and that they're ready to spend money on because it's a huge problem that they have in their life. And then we create a message that addresses exactly that person we just spoke to and make it really clear what we offer. Awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely that. And all the market research that we do to create the offer, yes, then we build out the content strategy around all the facts and findings from the market research.
I love that. And maybe just going on that road, like continuing on that road that you just went there, like what do we do now? Now we have kind of figured out a little bit how we want to show up online. We are relatively confident to show our quirks, to be a little bit bold in what we're saying. And we also have an understanding of what we want to say. How do we then go about and actually create content that then attracts the person that we want to work with?
So again, specificity also with the offer, but with your content, it's about getting really specific and granular with who is the ideal client, because a lot of people don't very specifically call out the ideal client. And so ideal clients don't know that you're talking to them. A lot of people also, when it comes to creating the details of the ideal client, they might keep it too surface level without going into what are the main drivers and motivators that your ideal client, what drives them and motivates them to make this change in their life. So there is that. And then, yes, taking all the facts and data and making sure that you're creating content that solves mini problems. So content that resonates with your target audience. So based on what are their struggles, their challenges, what are the goals that they're working towards, and ultimately showing them how your solution is the thing, your services are the thing that get them from their current point A to their desired point B. And you as the expert know what that is, because so many people will have target audiences that, just a wild example, they are totally, new coaches with nothing, and the goal is helping them get to 10K months. But the services in between could be anything. It could be a mindset coach saying the reason you're not there is because you don't have the right mindset. A business strategist would say it's because you don't have a business plan and strategy to actually get there. A personal branding photographer would say it's because you don't have a really slick and professional image that makes people take you seriously. So a lot of people have a similar ideal client, but it's the job of your content to show how your services are the thing that's actually stopping them from hitting that goal. And then creating your content around that.
100%. You just mentioned there the mindset coach, and I find that of a little bit of an interesting example, because often people who might come across this mindset coach, they are not aware that their mindset is actually stopping them of like achieving that 10K month, I think you said. how would you help someone package something that is a little bit more intangible, maybe, to make it really clear, like, okay, this person really needs my program, my step-to-step guide, whatever it might be, to achieve that 10K month, even though it might not be as obvious as, okay, a business strategy would really help you to get there.
So one of the best things that I learned when I did my coach training was that you can make anything specific and tangible, but you have to go below the surface to find out what those specific things are to be able to make an intangible thing more tangible. And again, it all comes down to specifics. And actually, this is a really good example because one of my clients at the moment is a mindset coach, helping people in their career to get their next senior promotion. And one of the things that just came up when I was recently looking through the offer was the lack of specifics with what certain things actually mean. So let's take like a random generic example that everybody says is, for example, like helping you live your best life. Like, what does that actually mean to that person? Because it can mean so many different things to different people. Like, I help you to thrive in your career. Like, what does that actually mean to someone? So it really is about getting specific. So rather than, I help you challenge the mindset blocks that are holding you back. What are those mindset blocks? Like, is it like their thoughts of not feeling like they're good enough? Like, instead, make it that specific. Like, I help you transform your I'm not good enough thoughts into I can absolutely fucking do this, and I will, so it's like, it's just that level of specificity so that someone reads that and they're like, that's me. Yeah, I keep telling myself like I can't do it. So there's always a way to make everything tangible, but again, it goes back to knowing the ideal client and really asking those deeper questions to get to the bottom of what it is that's really challenging them. And then that's how you make it tangible.
Is there anything that you see over and over again that people kind of get wrong at these kind of stages that we have now spoken about, like common mistakes?
A big one actually that I've started talking a lot about in my content recently is obviously on LinkedIn specifically, personal branding is massive. And personal branding style content is all well and good to build a brand around who you are, brand awareness. If you want to become an influencer and you just want to build a community of people who like you and then get brand partnership deals, that's fine. But if you are here to have a service and to make money, you need authority content that shows why you're so great at what you do and content that's focused around sales and conversion. The issue is that I see with so many people is their content is not sales focused enough. It's just this influencer style personal branding content, which is never going to make conversions in the way that you want, because that's more around brand awareness. And that's when you get the comments that are like, oh my God, I love this. You're so inspiring. Or like, I totally resonate with this message. When you show up as an authority is when you are showing your ideal clients that you have a really deep understanding of who they are, what they're struggling with. They feel seen, heard, and understood by you. And also that you're selling, which brings me on to like the second point is that so many people are just not selling enough. I'm doing an experiment at the moment, and I started it about 7 days ago, where every day in my content, I'm selling something hard sell in the actual content piece, because that's what needs to be done. If you want to make more sales, you've got to sell more, and that's it. And I would say that is the biggest thing that I see so many people are not selling for all the reasons why. They're scared to do it. Selling feels sleazy and icky and awkward. They don't feel good self-promoting, especially women who have been made to believe that that's a bad thing. And they just don't want to feel like they're pushing something onto people that they don't want, or they're scared of losing followers or turning people off. People know that you're there to build a business, so you've got to sell if you've got something to sell.
100%. And I think oftentimes even we kind of believe that we are like writing selling content, but what it really is like a tip here and there. And I don't know, maybe it's not as clear that there actually is like a tangible offer, like you're saying. What should we think about when we are putting these sales posts out? Like, is there something in terms of structure, in terms of call to action? Like, what should be on our minds when we are creating these types of content?
There are many different ways. So, the first thing I would say is actually selling, like hard pitching your services at the end. So people know, So they know what you do, how it helps them, and how they can actually work with you. Because you can never leave it for somebody to just make an assumption. Like, people don't know what offers you've got going. Do you have spots open for your one-to-one coaching, or whatever it is for your services? People don't know that unless you explicitly tell them. So first of all, selling. And another good tactic that I teach all of my clients is, of course, leveraging client wins and testimonials, but not just as nice words, but actually as A to B transformations, because nice words don't tell people anything about the impacts of the work that you've actually had on your client and what results they've actually got from it. Whereas if you leverage it as an A to B transformation, this is when people can read it and they really connect with where the ideal client was at when they came to you, because they're like, that's the reality. And then you're showing people how you got them the results, which basically when they're reading it, they're like, oh, I can see myself. Okay, I understand. These are the steps that we would work on together, and these are the results I can get as well. But so much of authority really comes from your mind and believing that you're an authority. Because when you believe that, you show up with a different kind of energy in your content, but it's just in the way that you write and the way that you put yourself across. And people feel that level of confidence when you really show up knowing that you are the absolute shit in your niche. So it really is about then making that tangible, the mindset stuff, going back to basics and thinking like, what is it that you are so good at that is your core skill that you can speak about and sell over and over already because you are so good at it? You've either mastered it yourself or you facilitated it for many clients. What is that thing that you're so good at? Because that's going to be the thing that you're confident to sell. So it's about not trying to go above your level where you're already at, not trying to sell something that you feel like you should be selling, but you don't feel comfortable or confident to sell. It's about selling right now the thing that you know you can sell. And then that transcends into your content and the way that you put yourself across. People read it, they feel that energy of like, wow, this person, that, you know, they really know what they're talking about. And I can see that they're really, you know, I take them seriously, not just as another, oh, this is so inspiring. You know, it's like content that actually brings conversions, actually makes people want to come and inquire with you.
I love that. So we come back kind of to the confident piece that we discussed in the beginning. We get really clear on what transformation can we enable people to have when they work with us. And then we show that specifically in the content. And then we have a very clear call to action that says like, hey, I have spots available, like book in with me now. If we then come back to that kind of feeling before posting that post of like, oh my God, people are going to hate me. I don't want to be salesy. I remember that salesperson that called me 3 weeks ago and I had the worst time talking to him. Like, what do we do to kind of overcome that feeling inside of us?
So it's really about knowing that what you offer is amazing and that people need it, because selling is, yes, everybody has that stereotype of what sales is. People think about, you know, going into a garage and having somebody like try to sell you a car that you don't want. And so many people hate being sold to because they feel pressured into making a decision, and everybody ultimately wants the choice to make their own decision. So it's about knowing that what you offer is needed and amazing, and that it solves a problem and that it delivers results. Because as long as you're clear on this, you will be like, people would be silly not to buy my offer, because I'm not forcing anyone to take this offer. I'm providing a service for people who need it. So it's so much of reframing that in your mind to know that what you offer is a service that people need. You're not trying to convince anyone to work with you. You're not pushing something onto someone that they don't want. You're asking questions, you're gathering data. And then if you feel like someone's the perfect fit, you're saying, listen, like, I can help you with that. Why don't we have a chat?
Love it. Love it. I think something that you do very beautifully is that you let that kind of boldness shine through. Like when I look at your kind of graphics, and there's like different text and there are different fonts and there are different colors and there are unicorns jumping around and there's sometimes very strong language in there. You have clearly built like a personal brand that is very unique to you, and you have found a way to translate that from kind of off screen onto the screen. Is there anything that you could recommend to people who would like to follow a similar path or who would like to find their unique version of that?
It's really about getting clear on who you are as a person and who is the person that you want to put across to your audience. Hopefully it's your authentic self. So who is that person? And if you are not able to necessarily identify it yourself, go out and ask like friends or family or someone like, how do you perceive me? What do you think are my biggest values and my best qualities? And if I was creating what parts of my personality do you feel I should put across online as I create my personal brand? So really getting that outside perspective. I've always been like very clear on like my personality and who I am, but I appreciate it's not always so easy for other people. So getting that outside perspective is a really good way to see how people interpret you in real life, and what your skills are and what your what are the things that you're really good at as a person. And your brand identity really evolves as you evolve naturally in business, as you become more confident in who you are and what you do. And, maybe also as your niche pivots over time and you become more confident with different skills. So it will pivot and it is it will evolve, and it is a journey, but it really starts with like understanding who you are. What is your mission in your business? What's your purpose? Why are you doing this? And really getting clear also on like, what do you stand for and what do you stand against? Like, what do you want to be known for? What is that thing? And then making sure that you're building around this. Of course, like then the other aspect about personality is of course like tone of voice, which again, I always knew that for me, I'm a very informal, non-corporate or professional type person. So for me, it was so important that my tone of voice was always going to be informal, conversational, fun, bold, literally in the way that I talk. And with that, a tangible action point that I can give is so many people try and force themselves to write content when they're sitting at a laptop, which is, if that's where you're most creative, then fine. But if it's not, you need to stop forcing yourself to try and come up with content ideas. And a really good way, people always say, write like you talk. But for me, so many of my content ideas come to me when I'm out walking. So I will just dictate my content ideas into my notes section. And then what this means is, yes, you need to tidy it up a little bit on the laptop or later. But what it means is you are literally writing like you talk. So, if that's the way that you come across and you would say something, then that's the way that you want to come across online as well. But tone of voice is, especially when you're building a brand that's focused mostly around text content. Obviously, I'm a big advocate for video as well. Get on video. That's a great way to show off your personality. But if most of it is around the text piece, then you need to make sure that the tone of who you are is really coming across in your writing. And a great way to do that is just to start dictating your content in a way that you would say it to someone in real life.
I love that idea. And I personally do that as well. Like when I'm out on walks, I have the little voice note thingy on my phone and I just put ideas there so I can come back to them later. That's awesome. Is there anything more that you would like to leave listeners with before we tell everyone where to find you? Is there any last message, any encouraging words, anything?
My advice is always to just go out there and do it, and to really think about why you're doing it, not compare yourself to others, not let the fear of rejection or criticism or anything else, judgment, get in the way of you doing what you feel you were put on this planet to do. So you've just got to grab the bull by the horns and really get clear on why you're doing this and what really motivates you to do this, to get that fire in your belly to do it. And then, of course, I always say, you're an expert in what you do, but you can't be an expert in everything. And there are certain skills that you do need to have when you are growing your own business, skills around marketing, skills around selling, of course, the mindset piece as well. And if you don't have those skills from past jobs, then it's going to be more difficult to, you're not just going to wake up one morning and know how to do all of it. So if you are super ambitious and motivated to actually make your business a success, then you need to learn these skills. And the best way is to learn from people who have done it already. That's the quickest route to success, not spending ages trying to learn stuff or like Google stuff if that you just keep procrastinating on it, which is easy to do. Is to really think about how dedicated and motivated you really are to making it a success, and then align your action with that vision.
Love it. Where can people go and find you if they would like to have you as a guide on that journey ahead?
So there are a few different places. You can find me on Instagram at Grace Lancer Coaching. You can find me on LinkedIn at Grace Lancer with a little unicorn emoji after my name. And you can also find me on my website, which is gracelancer.com.
Awesome. And we're going to have all of that linked below in the show notes for everyone who is interested. Grace, it was lovely having you on. Thank you so much for this conversation.
And thank you for having me. I had so much fun.
All right, tribe. Thank you so much for watching this episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like and a comment below. There's going to be new episodes dropping every Wednesday, covering everything from entrepreneurship to health, basically giving you all the tools that you need to peak perform in business and in your life. So please make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. This is a one-woman show. There is no network, there are no sponsors, and there is no editing team behind this. So it's up to me and you to spread the word about it. So if you have a friend who might benefit from what you learned today in this episode, please make sure to share a link with them. I see you next Wednesday. Much love.